The Crowley Lake stone columns, they call them in California, they say, well, officially they say they were created by volcanic activity. I see something else. The Crystal Palace in London, England, around 1850s. This photo was taken. And then the Dilkusha in Lucknow, India, 1858. The Dresden Frauenkirche, Lutheran Church in Dresden, Germany, 1945. The Elephant House of the Berlin Zoo, 1879. The fate of the Erie County Savings Bank, one of the most beloved buildings ever built in Buffalo, New York. Before, during the demolition, and after the demolition. I prefer the before picture. Between the tower that we have today and the before, I prefer the before. The Garden Palace in Sydney, Australia. According to what they say in the books, it was built in 1879 and destroyed by a fire in 1882, just 3 years later. And the Great Baltimore Fire, the Great Synagogue of Nuremberg in Germany, built in 1874, they say, and they said it was torn down in 1938. That's what history says. The Great Umayyad Mosque of Damascus in Syria, a photo. So Damascus, Syria. The Himalayan Star Towers in the Himalayas. The Hungarian Museum of Transportation in Budapest, Hungary. They say it was built in 1896 and destroyed during the World War II. And then this is the same building, but from a different angle and different color. And the same building, but with a different angle, with a bit of a more zoom. The Hungarian Parliament, Budapest, Hungary. The interior and exterior of the Amsterdam's Crystal Palace of Volksvliet, something like that. They say it was burned down and then never rebuilt again. And by the way, in Amsterdam. The Los Angeles County Courthouse between 1891 and 1936, and the Hall of Records between 1909 and 1973. The Los Angeles County Courthouse, again, from a different angle. They say it was built in 1891 and demolished in 1935. So I don't know if that's true or not. The National Theatre in Zagreb, Croatia, they say it opened in 1895. The National Wallace Monument in Scotland, UK. And the same type of things we see in Asia with these things, and all across Europe and America. I have to say, the surroundings of Scotland, too bad that the weather is so bad there. The original Bank of England building and the surrounding ruins, once the site of a temple of Mithras, a deity associated with contracts. Yeah, so the original Bank of England. The original Neu-Elbrücke bridge between 1887 and 1959, when it came down. The original Penn Station in New York City, this is from year 1911. The Palace of Justice in Brussels, the capital of Belgium, they say it was built in 1870, and this photo is taken in 1890. The Palace of the Trocadero in Paris, they say it was built in 1878 for the World's Fair and then demolished in 1935. That's what they say. The Rotunde in Vienna, in Austria, 1873, they say it was built and then destroyed by fire in 1937. It was the largest cupola construction in the world, larger than the Pantheon in Rome. And this was in Vienna, or Wien. The Salt Lake Temple, located on Temple Square in Salt Lake City in Utah, in USA. It says it's from 1893, and that it required 40 years to complete. The Scott Monument in Edinburgh, in the UK. They say it was built in 1841. And again, you see these towers here, same as we see everywhere else. I think of power and electric energy when I see that. and the telecommunication postal pavilion at the Millennium Exhibition in Budapest, Hungary, in 1896. The Temple of Baalbek in ruins. I'll just show you bigger, with all these megalithic pieces of stone. I have to say, I like the gardens as well, and the light of the sun. It's something cool. The Temple of Music, they say, was constructed for the 1901 Pan American Expo in Buffalo, New York. The theater in the capital of Bulgaria, Sofia, in 1915. The train station of Debrecen in Hungary, before and after World War II. I prefer the before picture, just like the one with the building in New York. I prefer the before picture. I don't like the after pictures. I don't know if that's just me. The Women's Temple, it was called this. It was in Chicago, in the US. They say it was completed the year before the World's Fair in 1892, and then it was demolished in 1926. I do not understand why. The Writers' Museum in Edinburgh, in Scotland, in the UK. I have to say, when you see these buildings and you see the dark sky over Scotland, it's sadness. Now I understand why British people are so crazy about going to Spain and other parts. The Tipu Sultan Mosque in Calcutta, in India. They say this photo is from 1830. Tokyo, Japan, 1914. So 1914, okay? I don't misunderstand. Tomb of Bihar ud Din Bar in Gujarat, in India. They say it's a tomb. This, in Canada, the Toronto Provincial Lunatic Asylum. Lunatic, for lunatics. They say this was used for lunatics, for people with mental problems. In Canada, in this case. The Tower of Jewels temporary structure built for the 1915 Panama Pacific International Exposition in San Francisco, they say. And the Trans-Mississippi and International Expo in Omaha, in Nebraska, in 1898. I wonder how they built it. The Treasury Gate in Istanbul in 1865. Curious how everything is so perfect stonework, and then the surrounding areas is dirt on the streets. The Triumphal Arch in Russia. This is at Blagovchensk in Russia in 1904. 1904. The Troitsky Cathedral, St. Petersburg, Russia, in the late 1800s. The U.S. government building for the Alaska Yukon Pacific Exposition in 1909. San Francisco in the 1800s, before and after. I prefer the before pictures. I don't know why you have to demolish that to build the after. This, of course, the Ming tombs in China, 1874. The Union Station in 1941. A Union Station in Columbus, Ohio. They say it was demolished in 1976. Why? The Uppsala, Sweden, marble interior inside the university building in Uppsala. This is called Varanasi. It's in India. And of course it was covered by lots of earth and dirt. The Victoria Memorial in Kolkata, West Bengal in India, 1906. They say it was the building from. And Victoria Terminus in Mumbai, India, in 1908. So was this built by the British? The Victorian downtown San Francisco in the 1800s, before the 1906 great earthquake and fire. Such an impressive city, San Francisco, before the earthquake. Again, the same picture as we've seen before. This is a duplicate. Vorontsov Palace in Alupka in Crimea, which is part of Russia now. This is supposed to have been built in 20 years, between 1828 and 1848. Again, the Dresden church with a different color. The Wentworth House in South Yorkshire in England, they say was built in 1740, in the 1740s, in the 18th century. The William Clark House, New York, 1897, and then in 1925, Mr. Clark, the owner, passed away, and his family sold the house for $3 million, which is equivalent to $40 million today. And the new owners decided to tear down the house, to destroy it, to demolish it. I wonder why. The William Wallace Monument, but this time seen from a different angle and with blue sky. The Woodward Avenue Baptist Church. They say it's a splendid Gothic masterpiece from the Victorian era. They say it was built in 1887 and destroyed by a fire in 1986. The World Fair in Chicago, Illinois in 1893. The World Fair Buffalo, New York, 1901. The World Fair St. Louis in 1904. The World Fairs of Chicago as well, a different building, in 1893. The Writers' Building in Calcutta, India in 1885. The York House, Manchester, UK. They say it's from 1911. A textile warehouse, and demolished in 1974 to be replaced by a parking lot. I prefer the building, not the parking lot, but maybe that's just me. And then, as you know, in America in the 1800s, I like what it says there in the picture. Of course, the skies are grayed out, edited, grayed out skies. I wonder why. Maybe there was stuff flying on the skies. And built by people who traveled by horse and carriage in the 1800s without electricity and without machines. Interesting. And then, of course, this is in San Francisco. This one is somewhere in Russia or Ukraine, I'm not sure. Again, before and after in Germany, the stations. I prefer the before pictures. Another church I'm not sure if this was I think this was in Germany as well. The Ming Tombs. And we've seen this before, the World Columbian Exposition. And this is Saudi Arabia, in the middle of nowhere in the desert. I'm going to go a different angle here. Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed the photos. See you in the next one.